I'm Noah from American Trucks, and in front of me I have the Barricade Extreme HD modular front bumper with the LED daytime running lights for the 18 to 20 F-150, excluding the Raptor. Now, if you're looking to beef up the front end of your F-150 with an aftermarket bumper, but you still want something that isn't much larger than the stock bumper that came on your truck, then a modular Barricade heavy-duty bumper would be a great choice for you. If you're planning on doing heavy-duty truck stuff with your F-150, then chances are a heavy-duty steel bumper has crossed your mind as something that could be a great addition to your truck. Now, not only do they protect the front of your truck from impact, but they also just look sweet too, and I totally don't blame you if you think they just look cool, because that's more than enough of a reason to grab one for your truck in my book. Now, this one in particular has some pretty neat features to it. The first of those being is that there's a set of LED daytime running lights right here on the sides of the bumper. Now, those make you more visible to other people on the road and really just look awesome too. You're gonna notice here on the sides of the bumper as well that they kind of pull up to help with the approach angle. That's gonna keep the bumper out of the way of any large rocks you're approaching, or even the ground if you're going down a steep grade. As far as construction goes, we do have some heavy-duty 5/32 cold-pressed steel. Cold-pressed means that it was bent while the steel was cold, making the final product much harder than if you would have heated the metal up to bend it. When you heat metal to bend it, it knocks the temper out of it and it will never be quite as strong again. Then we have a textured black powder coat finish over the whole thing. Now, that is a two-stage finish, so there's an epoxy pre-coat and then a powder coat over top of that. That's going to ensure that that coating bonded with the steel properly. It's going to be insanely durable and the bumper will not rust, and it's protected from any dings or scrapes. This bumper costs right around the $750 mark all said and done. That is a bit more than some of the stubby bumpers on our site. However, keep in mind that you're going to get a lot more protection from a full bumper that covers the entire width of your truck rather than just an add-on to the stock bumper. Now, just think about all the money that this bumper could save you and your truck from by protecting it from any damage. I would say a modular bumper from Barricade is absolutely worth every penny. On to the install process. This bumper is a drop-in upgrade as far as bolting it on to where the old bumper was. It really shouldn't be that big of a deal for someone with some mechanical skill. It would also be a great idea to count on having a friend nearby to help you hold it in place while you attach it to your truck, because this is quite heavy. Now, the install difficulty is only going to be a 1 out of 3 wrenches because it's only a couple bolts, and I'd say it's safe for you and your friend to expect about a 2-hour install process. That is enough from me though. I'm going to hand you over to one of the guys in the install bay, and he's going to take you through the install process step by step.
Tools required for this install include a couple different size impact guns, an electric ratchet, a hand ratchet, a 10 and 17 millimeter wrench, an extension, an 11, 13, 16, and 21 millimeter socket, a swivel adapter, a 4 millimeter Allen socket, a few zip ties, and scissors or diagonal cutters.
What's up, guys? Today we're installing a front bumper on our F-150. First, we're going to watch a quick video for how to uninstall your factory bumper, and then I'll meet you right back here for the install.
All right, first things first, grab a plastic panel removal tool, go to your factory bumper, and you're going to remove these 2 plastic trim pieces right above your tow hooks. Don't use anything metal because it can scratch your paint, and you need to go right up against that to pry this guy off. You want to have a hand there to catch it though, to make sure it doesn't come right off. All right, once you pry in there, just peel off. You can see there's just plastic clips and metal clips holding this guy on. Do the same thing on the other side. Now, once you have that removed, you're exposing 2 21 millimeter nuts on these threaded studs here on both sides. We're not going to completely remove them. We're just going to loosen them up so that we can get them off by hand. Grab your 21 deep socket, grab an extension and an impact gun or a ratchet, and loosen them up. All right, so we got that backed all the way off. I'm just going to keep it on a couple of threads. All right, same thing on the other side. All right, so at this point, you're crawling under the front end of the truck and you're going to unplug the factory master harness for the fog lights. Now, that's directly above the frame here, and it may be attached to the frame itself, but you can just pull that plastic clip off like I have here. What you're going to do is just flip it over, and you're going to pinch and disconnect. That way the fog lights are free and won't tug on this harness attached to the vehicle. All right, now you have to actually unplug the back of the fog light harness. Now, It's really difficult to get to from underneath of the truck due to it being really close to the frame. So I'm actually going to go into our wheel well here on our passenger side and then repeat on the other side. There's two 5.5mm bolts, believe it or not. I have a 1/4-inch ratchet and a short 5.5 socket. Get these two out of the way. You can peel that trim back enough in the wheel well liner to get to the back of the fog light, which is like right here. All right, I'm gonna do the other one, and we'll peel it back. At this point, you're basically gonna peel this guy back, and you can actually just bend it right behind the tire, especially if you have one of these larger tires like we have here. And then right there, you'll see the fog light connector right where my fingertip is here. All right, so it's got this blue connector on it, and you're basically gonna peel back on the black, and I know that's tough to see here, right at my fingertip, and disconnect that so it falls right off. Repeat on the other side. Next up, we have to remove the third 21mm nut from underneath of the truck, connecting it to the frame. It's basically right where the first two were, but on the opposite side, on the inside of the truck. So we're crawling underneath the front end. I got my 21 socket. Now keep in mind, guys, as you remove these two last ones, one on each side, the bumper is gonna start coming down. That's why we left the first two nuts loose, so that it can catch it and it's not gonna come down on top of us. All right, so grab your 21 deep socket and extension and get these off. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna repeat that process on the other side. What you're seeing now is the front side view of that same bolt on the driver's side. All right, at this point, you're basically gonna support the front bumper and remove the four 21mm nuts that we left on just a couple of threads. Keep in mind, as you remove these guys, it's gonna start coming off. All right, all four are off. Let's pull this guy out of position. And with everything disconnected, set it aside. All right, so next up we have to remove our factory tow hooks. Grab a 15 socket and an impact gun or ratchet, go underneath and take those two bolts out. Pull that bolt plate out as well. Same thing on the other side. All right, so now we have to take off the factory double bolt plate just by pulling off these retainer pieces of plastic that hold them on. And you're basically gonna pull it out. They're all in one piece, just like that. I'm just gonna put the plastic things back on so we don't lose them. Do the same thing on the other side.
So the first thing we need to do is install our center grills. These are gonna lay down right in the center of our bumper, and then we'll use our button head combo bolts with our nuts to tighten it down. So now we can lay our vents into place, and we'll get our two smaller sides in as well. And then we can line everything up and start installing our hardware. And now we can get the bottom mount for our side vents. Now you're not going to be able to see the top bolt, so we'll just repeat that same thing for the top of our side vents. And now we can tighten down all of our hardware using a 4mm Allen bit and a 10mm wrench. Next, we can install our license plate bracket. Now this is going to be the orientation for it. These two circular holes are going to line up with the circular holes on our bumper. And then we'll fasten that down with our button head bolts with a flat washer, and then a flat washer and a locking nut on the other side. So now we can grab our first bolt with the flat washer, slide it through that circle hole. And then on the back side, we'll take another flat washer and our locking nut. Then we can do that same thing on the other side. And then we'll use our 4mm Allen bit on our bolt side and a 10mm wrench on our nut side to tighten that down. Next, we can install these two bolts that hold the wing of our bumper in place. So we'll have a lock washer and a flat washer with each bolt. And then we can take a 16mm socket to tighten these down. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. Next, we can install our double bolt plate and our single bolt plate. So you can slide this in from the back and then use our retainer clips to hold it in place. You can just spin these on. Now we're missing our single bolt plates for both sides, so you would just grab yours, slide it in the same way as the double bolt plate, and put your retainer clip on. So now we're ready to install our front bumper. So you're gonna wanna grab a second set of hands. We can lift our bumper up, get our studs through the holes on the frame horn, and get our nuts on the backside. So now we can take a 21mm socket to tighten down our two nuts. We're gonna push up on the bumper and tighten that down. And then we can do that same thing on the other side. So now that we have our bumper installed, our next thing to do is our wiring. So I've got our wire harness laid out across the engine bay. We have our two connectors for our fog lights that are gonna go down to the ground. I've got the cable for our switch running across the engine bay. We're gonna put it through the grommet that goes into the driver's side floor. And then we have our two connectors for the battery that will hook up to our terminals. So the first thing we're gonna do is hook up our battery terminal connectors. So we'll take an 11mm socket to remove the nut from our positive. We can slide our positive connector on, screw our nut back on, and tighten that back down with that same 11mm socket. And then we'll switch to our 13mm socket for our negative. Thread our nut back on and tighten that back down with that 13mm socket. So now we can grab our two connectors for our LED fog lights and drop them down right next to this battery tray towards the floor so that we can hook those up. So next we can run the wire for our switch across the engine bay so that we can put it through the grommet on the other side. Now we have these tabs here across the cowl that we can get a zip tie through.
and zip tie our wire to. And then you can grab a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters to cut off the excess. And then we'll just do that same thing working across. So now we can run our switch through the grommet right next to our brake booster and into our cabin. Now it's going to be hard to see once I get my hand in there, but we're going to pop our grommet out of place and then we can slide our switch through. And now we can go inside the cabin and mount up our switch. So now on the inside of the truck, we can grab our switch. We're gonna peel back our double-sided tape backing, and then you can stick this down wherever you'd like. Since we have a nice open spot right here, I'm just gonna put that right there. So now the only thing we have left to do is connect our wiring harness to the connectors for our fog lights. So the passenger side one I have running straight down. The one that's going to go over to our driver's side, I have going over our passenger side frame rail, and then we'll put it over the driver's side frame rail as well. So we'll plug that in and then zip tie our excess up and out of the way. So now we can bunch up our wires and zip tie that up and out of the way. And we'll take that same pair of scissors or diagonal cutters to chop off our excess. And then we can tuck our wiring up and out of the way. So now we'll just do that same thing on our driver's side. So we'll take our harness over our frame rail, plug it in, and then bunch up all of our excess. And then zip tie it up and out of the way. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Barricade Extreme HD modular front bumper with LED DRL for your 2018 to 2020 F-150, excluding the Raptor. Thank you for watching, and for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.